How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Emerald City Hockey Postgame Live. After, it's Kraken's third straight loss. It's another kind of bummer game, low event game that the Kraken can't figure out, can't find a way to win. Right, Afra? I mean, it's just these games they suck. Like, there's no way around it, right? Not the team or anything, but these games are just they're just bad. They're tough to watch. This game, through the second period, I was like, "Uh-oh, this is another game where the Kraken come out, they start strong, they slowly start to lose it. Second period, nothing's really happening, like, oh no, what's gonna happen here?" And then the other team gets a goal and builds some momentum. Now, what made this different than, say, the San Jose game in San Jose or the game against the Jets just a couple games ago was that Capitals get that first goal after the Kraken have kind of trailed off and aren't really playing well, but there was an intermission, and the Kraken were able to come out and start strong in the third period, tie the game up, come back into the game. You're like, okay, here we go. But just like with that Vegas game and what we talked about on the last post game, this team's like allergic to momentum. They really don't know what to do with momentum when they have it, and so they just kind of give it away. And this was another example of that in a season filled with examples of this team just not not really knowing what to do with momentum, and it's frustrating, it's sad, and it's a bummer. And so, yeah, welcome to post game, everybody. We'll get into the good stuff. There was some good stuff though to talk about. We will get into all of that though here on post game, presented by Flat Stick Pub. Reminder for everybody, that South Lake Union location, you could get $1 off beer with your game ticket if you show that at their South Lake Union location. And also, exciting news, we have another watch party lined up for Flat Stick Pub. It's going to be the game against the Ducks on April 5th, and I will be flying up there for it. So I'll be doing the watch party at Flat Stick. RJ will be handling things here on post game and everything. So really excited for that. It's going to be at that South Lake Union location. We'll have more graphics and get the news out there in a little bit as I knock Gatorade onto the floor. It's fine. So excited about that. Really, really pumped for my first watch party at Flat Stick. All right, getting into the comment section here. B, well, that was depressing to watch, huh? I think Brooke nailed it. Bummer, right? Same word I've been using. Viren, who disrupted Joey's breakaway magic? That was the big thing, right? Because I mean, he is so solid on those. He's been automatic with the breakaways all year long. I guess he had to figure he wasn't going to be unstoppable forever. There was going to be a time where somebody was going to get to him. Didn't think Michael was going to be the guy to do it, but here we are. I don't know. Joey, it was a weird game for Joey, right? He was there and made a ton of saves, but you have the situation that leads to the first goal where he just throws it, it's a misplay, throws it off Ocean and ends up behind him. It's not great. But that one, I mean, that's just, Berkey overskating a puck, doesn't have it on his stick, eye not on the ball, whatever it is you want to call it, and it leads to a breakaway chance. And yeah, I mean, it's just they happen, right? Like, Joey's still phenomenal. I would trust him in a shootout situation over most guys, but it is disappointing. Tom, I'm not having fun. I hear you, Tom. Julia, I'm not upset like after the last game. I just feel deflated. I think you nailed it, Julia. Like, that's what this is. Like, last game, there was energy to it. It was still an exciting game. I talked to some people yesterday that aren't Kraken fans, but they're hockey fans. They watched that game and they were like, that was like a fun, exciting game to watch, that game against Vegas. I said, yeah, I mean, yeah. If I divorced myself from the Kraken, yeah, it was. This game was not a fun, exciting game to watch. Like, it just wasn't. It was a low event game that the Kraken just didn't win. And like I said, there's been a lot of those games this year, and they're not fun. It's just not good. It's just not good. So many turnovers from Zoe. Yes, Kraken really had a turnover problem today. I mean, obviously both goals directly come off of that. The Kraken trying to get back into the game, and they do that weird line change and they turn it over, and the Capitals are able to get chances with like 5 minutes left. Like, what are you doing? You can't afford to do that in that situation. You're down by one. It's late in the game, and you're just making a lazy line change, and you're just throwing the puck into empty space and letting Washington skate to it. Like, those are the things that are kind of mind-boggling about this whole situation and with this team. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I just I don't know. Where was the fire for it? Like, right? Like, just like with the Sharks game, just like with the Jets game, like, where's the energy? Where's the passion? Where's the fire? Where's the desire to go out and win a very winnable game? And it just wasn't there. Light with the super chat, appreciate that. Should have known something was off when we won in DC. Yeah, I guess so. I guess this was fated all along, and we shouldn't feel so bad about it. That is a question. Um, let's see. Ryan, not pulling the goalie until under 90 seconds when you've had so few chances all night is a fireable offense. And I see there's somebody a little bit further down. Julia, can RJ ask Hack why he always waits so long to pull the goalie? It's a good question. It's an interesting one. I don't know if RJ's reading chat here while they wait, or what the situation is with him at the moment. But yes, I'm with you both. Got to pull him sooner. I don't know what you're waiting for. What the game is lost unless you get the goal. We know that the numbers support you pulling him even earlier than say 2 minutes, right? I don't know. And this is a team that has scored with the extra attacker. Like the Kraken this season have done it. I really was surprised. And I was thinking the same thing I'm sure everybody was, which was just what as Forsland saying the stop signs up, as Forsland saying Joey's staying put. I think even Forsland was kind of surprised calling the game. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm just like, why? What what do you have to lose, right? You're losing this game and there's like 2.5 minutes left. Just take him out and go for it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Let's see. Byron, not that I was eager to watch extra of this. Yes, that's true. I guess if we don't really need the points, if we're having to transition over into looking at draft position more so than looking at playoff odds, then technically this was the better outcome, and we didn't have to suffer through whatever overtime was going to look like between these two teams. Bryce, Kraken goals 1, Kraken mistakes leading to goals 2. You nailed it. You nailed it. That's never the equation you want to see, the ratio you want at the end of a game, but it is the one tonight. Why do they also look so much worse than the team on a back-to-back, Nicole? That's a good question. It is one of these weird things where some teams really thrive off of playing back-to-back. Like they just we've seen this even with the Kraken too, where they've performed better on the second half of a back-to-back. I would love to know and ask a player about this. Maybe this would be like I don't know, make it more like a training camp question than something this late in the season. Maybe this late in the season, but I would love to know: is it that you're playing the next day, so you try to leave something in the tank on the first game, and then you can just empty the tank on the second game? Or, like, is that the situation? Or is it you're running on fumes in that second game, so you're just going off because you're not even thinking about it, you're just pushing your body, pushing your body, pushing your body, and you end up doing that? Like, I would love to know which of those 2 it is, because for whatever reason, back-to-backs don't really seem to bother teams anymore. There's been a definite switch there these last couple of years. I'm with you, Nicole. Absurdly sane, I'm just going to be happy when we win and look forward to next season. I think that's where we're at this point. I'm with you, absurdly saying I'm in the same boat, Sean. And we thought Tuesday's loss was bad. Feel terrible for Joey and Berkey, our 2 most consistent guys. Sure wish one of the others could have bailed them out tonight. Oh, and Bjorky. Yeah, it was just a Kraken season 3 game. Unfortunately, I think we could just like coin that as like a term, because that's just the way the season's gone. But I'm with you. It feels rough for really all of them. But I don't know why these are such winnable games. They're winnable games, and I guess it makes sense that the Kraken aren't in a playoff spot, right? Because it playoff teams would win these games. You walk out of there with 2 points. You should, and they just don't. Incredible tank awareness there by Burakovsky to make sure they lost in regulation from Lindsay. Too soon, Lindsay. Too soon. I don't know that I'm there yet, or if everybody else is there yet. Nicole, they were cycling in the zone and didn't pull Joey either. Don't know what Hack was waiting for. I don't either. We'll see if Hackstall addresses it. It's very possible that somebody in the media group is going to ask. It depends on who's there. I have some ideas of who might do it. Not that I can say. I don't want to put them on blast. James, I don't want to have a bottom 10 pick again, but alas, here we are. We are in that conversation at this point for sure. How many more years do we overpay Berkey again? Oh, little Pee Wee hockey turnover. He's got, what, 3 years left after this one? Via Ren, at least Discord was fun tonight, notably when not discussing the actual game. Discord was fun tonight. Had a great time, looking at the Jordan Eberle 1,000 game celebration at the beginning of the game. Did lots of talking about Nickelback on the Discord, um, and all the stuff that went through there, including the fact that yeah, hey, congrats on 1,000 game. Here's like all the booze we can give you, because that was essentially what it was, right? So there was some fun stuff from tonight. I'm with you, Viren, and it's just unfortunate that they weren't all like directly game related. It's always better when even if the team loses, if the game is fun, entertaining, and you're excited by it. Dexter, 3 straight L's at home. Time to accept reality. This team is and has been extremely mediocre. They have been mid. They have been mid. That's just the way this team has been. You're right, Dexter. CJ, trade for Zegras. We need some entertainment. That might be on the table. I'm serious. That could very easily be on the table. Especially if they have issues with the season ticket holder stuff, which it seems like they are. Tomorrow is the deadline for those, for the renewals for the 3-year plans. Based on what we were seeing, and some Patreon members have sent us some stuff. Doesn't look great when it comes to the renewals, which we knew already. So that could be an issue. And also, I mean, I'm seeing pictures from these last couple home games, and there's a lot of empty seats. So would not surprise me if the Kraken tried to go out there and do something like that, just to try to inject some energy, because the bottom line is you can lose a bunch of games like the Vegas game because it's an exciting game and everybody, I mean, it's riveting television. It's riveting if you're there live. The energy in that building is electric. You're going to remember that. You don't remember games like today. You don't remember games like the Jets game. You don't remember games like the Sharks game. If you're there, if you watch it on TV, you're bored, you start getting distracted, you start looking around. Oh, I got to clean up that. What's on my phone? Let me check Twitter. What's going on Discord, right? Kraken do need something to kind of grab us and give that energy to the game and give that excitement to the team. And Zegras would definitely be an option for that. I'm okay with it, as long as it's not like a huge overpay. He's not going to be like a world beater kind of guy for you, but he's at least going to be exciting and he will deliver energy. And really, this team needs energy because they lose way too many games like this one tonight. I just can't have it. Lindsay, Pittsburgh won tonight. The Kraken are so close to a top 10 draft. Lindsay, get out of here. Maybe later. It's just too soon in the post game at the very least. They played exactly like a team who knows they're playing out the string at this point. From Steven. I'm with you, Steven. I think we might have gotten to that point. Although, you know what? They've played like this all year, so I don't even think that it's that. I think that this is just a team that struggles with it. I just think that's it. Let's see. Vegas lost tonight, though. Lol. If not us, I hope the Wild or someone will pull them out of that second wild card spot, because I would die laughing. I'm with you, Julia. That might be the thing that we end up really watching and rooting for down the stretch here with this group. It might be for that. Byron, the game's boring when John and JT get excited about a hand pass. It was that kind of game. Sam, I'm currently lamenting the fact that my Bolts just shanghaied Keenan Allen to Chicago. Fortunately for me and us, these ice cold undercooked calamari masquerading as a Kraken aren't helping. That is true. And yes, I mean, Justin Herbert's good. He'll be able to hit guys in the hands. It's just a matter of, they can catch it, which is going to be a question now for them. Lindsay, at least Bjorky scored while I was wearing the Joker jersey. I hope we get pretty goals, but lose from here on out. Okay, I like that you were rocking the Joker jersey. That does help, Lindsay. You're allowed back for now. JTB hockey, horrible play by Berkey. And why do we keep putting Tolvanen on the power play? So, I mean, last year, that was the key to the power play success for the Kraken. It was the Tolvanen one-timer. You could go to it. It was money. Teams adjusted to that. Teams came to expect it. I mean, I talked about that last year. Like, we knew it wasn't going to last. They were going to need to shake it up. They've shaken it up, and they've gone away from it for a long time now. It really wasn't until like last game and this game that they've really kind of significantly brought it back. What I don't understand is, I know he's got the phenomenal one-timer, but again, it's pretty easy to see it ahead of time, and for a goalie to get over and for defenses to get in that shooting lane. Tolvanen's also got a fantastic shot. I don't know why they don't have him, move around a little bit more, go to a different angle where he's not necessarily going to be able to thrive off the one-timer, but he can maybe take a snapper. He can go up high with it instead, right? Because if the goalie's swinging over laterally and he knows to expect that. When the pass comes over to Tolvanen, let him collect it, let him take a step forward, and now far side of the net is probably open, because when that goalie is in desperation mode and pushes off all the way to go cross crease, they generally push too far, and you're going to have spots on the other side open. The angle doesn't necessarily work based on where you are if you're ready for a one-timer. That's why you got to collect the puck, take a step forward. Now you can get it around the goaltender. I'd love to see something like that. Fake the one-timer, Tolvey stops it, step forward, shoot far side. That's what I would do. Just because, like, this is, I'm with you, right? Like, you're just kind of, going after the same thing at this point. It's not working. Let's see. George on the Red Side Vegas lost, and the Devils, Pens, Flames, and Sabres all earned 2 points tonight. Tankathon rolls on. Yeah, it does. It does. Did not think we were going to have to be having these conversations in mid-March, but yet here we are. Hack famously doesn't believe in momentum. He believes in determination, from Strayatic. It's very possible. You might be onto something there. Ricky, all that leadership leading straight down the drain. Hackstall sure is risk averse. Perfect RF coach. He is very risk averse. The whole organization is risk averse, right? We've talked about this with Ron Francis. He's pretty risk adverse. I get it. I think there are times where that is the smart play. I think majority of times that is the smart play. But I think the best organizations, whether it's front office or it's behind the bench or it's the players, when it's okay to take the risk and when to go for it. And I think that a lot of the top teams out there have people in all of those positions that do that. And I think the Kraken, they don't take enough chances. And I think even just what we saw tonight with not pulling the goaltender, right? Which I'm sure that's partly what you're referring to, Ricky. That's a good example of it. Why not? Your team needs something, anything. If the thing that's going to bring energy to your team and have them play desperate is the fact that they've got a wide open net behind them, then get them out there, right? Pull them with 4 minutes left, right? The momentum was gone. The team wasn't playing very well. You might as well, right? Game's going to be lost at that point anyway. Those are the things that I think we need to do. Jenna, I agree. Trade for Zegras. He scores goals and will put butts in seats. He wants out of the Ducks. How much would he cost? It would be an interesting one to try to put together. We can maybe talk about it on a deep dive, just trying to think about it. He's on his bridge deal for 2 more seasons. It's relatively affordable cap hit. I mean, it would mean the Kraken can't do much else, but there's not much else to do anyway. He might be their best bet depending on who's actually going to be available. As far as return, you're probably looking at, I don't know. I don't know if the Ducks could get a first rounder for Zegras, to be perfectly honest, especially coming off the season this year where he's been so hurt. I would be interested to see that. You're probably looking at a prospect. So one of the second rounders from the Kraken, Yanni Newman, Jagger Firkus, somebody like that. And then, you could maybe I would see if they would do like 2 seconds. And you get Zegras. That's maybe what I would try to go for, and see if you could do it. Lindsay, I might have started Grew versus his former team, worked against Colorado in round 1. Yeah, and that would have worked good too with starting Joey against Vegas, right? Team he had just played very well against. So I do wonder about the decision to start the 2 goaltenders where he did this week. That's yeah. Let's see. Nicole, Zegras having a Michigan goal once a season isn't going to save this team. I agree with you on that, right? Like, he's not going to make as big a material difference as far as the score sheet. He's not quite a point per game player. He's not going to totally, juice the Kraken in that way. But what he's going to do is he will bring energy, and he's going to bring excitement, and he'll bring energy to whoever's line he's playing on. Right? You stick him out there on the wing with Matty Beniers because Matty can cover defensively for Zegras, and then you just let Zegras go. I mean, that's going to wake up Jordan Eberle. That's going to wake up the defense. That's going to wake up the Kraken, because just him trying to do things gets the guys on the bench excited. And then for their shift, they come out and they play excited and they play better then because of it. And I think that there is something to just that energy and fun factor that a guy like Zegras can bring to a team, it's not for all teams. I think there are some teams that would be counterproductive for them. This is not one of those teams. This is a team that is losing games because they cannot find enough energy to keep going, right? Like that is a problem for this group. They need somebody there who can just go out there and try for a Michigan. And even if he only gets one a season, the fact that he's going to try about 10 or 12 other times throughout the course of the year is going to make the guys on the bench stand up a little, and it's going to make them excited to go out there and play hockey. And that's what this team needs. So that's why I'm in favor of Zegras trade. I feel like he's kind of uniquely perfect for the Kraken, just in what he brings that way. And then obviously the business side of things, I think he would help a lot. Kind of having a true, star player. He doesn't necessarily have the numbers of a star player, but he has the presence of a star player, entertainment factor wise. AK, well, that's the difference between a very good team, Vegas Golden Knights on Tuesday, is that the Knights wanted it. The Kraken have not really wanted it all season. Learning moments and for 3 seasons in, the Kraken are still doing pretty darn good all in all, but enough of the playoff talk, people. It's not happening this season, but we'll get it next. Yeah, I think last game was really when everybody jumped ship on the playoffs. It sure seemed like that. Yeah, no, I always hesitate to say that a team doesn't want it. I truly do believe that they want it. I just think, like I said, there is something that's holding them back from games like this one. There's just something is happening. I don't know if it's coaching and it's telling them to play more reserved, or what the situation is, but there's been way too many low energy games from this team this year. And like I said, I don't want to say that it's because they don't want it, because I don't believe that, but I believe that there's something going on, because I don't it's unexplainable any other way. You know what I mean? Um, I don't even know where to go. Gabrielle, anyone catch Hackstall's face after the game? I've never seen him look so defeated post game. I believe that it's got to be tough, especially after last game. You got the 3-game losing streak. You're back on another losing streak this season. Disappointments at home. This has not been good at home. And like I said, he knows this was a winnable game. Capitals aren't a good team, and for a vast majority of this game, all you had to do was get a goal, and you were going to have to look back. Like that was just going to be it. And he knows that, and it's frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating for him. Hextall won't play Zegras. Y'all know it from Ricky. I don't know. He might. He'd have to. He'd have to. Hextall is defeated. Kraken are defeated. Zero energy. Bad body language says it all. That's what I'm saying. Like there's something there. There's something to it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Cheddar Slice, would you say it's time for a coaching change? I still think there's some roster tweaks, right? Like there's just not enough scoring on this team anyway. That we know the team needs a finisher. All of these 1-goal games show that they need a finisher. So no, I would say, Hackstall's going to get through the rest of this year for sure. I think he probably stays through the offseason unless ownership really feels like there needs to be a shakeup to try to just revitalize the whole organization, but I don't think that they will. And then next year, if they start next season the way they started this one, he's gone. He's totally gone. There will be nothing left protecting him at that point. You start, going 1-4 or whatever it was that they started this year. It's not going to cut it. You go on a 11-game losing streak or whatever it was in November. He doesn't survive that next year, right? I think he kind of barely survived it this year. So I think next year you're looking at stuff like that. I know, Dexter, it's time for a new coach. We have the same reoccurring issues over and over again with this team. The only thing that made this team half decent was an unimaginable shooting percentage in season 2. I mean, it's true, right? Like, I don't know how much of that is the coach, though. Like, there's only so much that Hackstall can do when he's given a group of guys that's, there's only a handful of them that are significant goal scorers. You have Jared McCann, who's for real. You've got Oliver Bjorkstrand, who's a great secondary piece goal scorer guy, right? 25-ish goal guy. And then, Jordan Eberle, 20 goal guy. Anybody else, right? Like we've yet to see if Matty is really that consistently. Tolvanen's not really that consistently yet. That's kind of it. And so I hesitate to put it all just on Hackstall, on Hackstall, just because I think there's still something to the fact that compositionally, the team isn't quite all there, and that's partly why they struggle with games like this. Um, but it also, like I just said, Hackstall's gone next year if the season starts the same way, right? Whether it's his fault or not, that'll be it for him. Let's see. Had another $2 super chat here from Light. Sorry about that. I skipped it for a little bit. I do 2 second. I do 2 seconds and Furcus for Zegras in a heartbeat from Light. Yeah, I would. I would do that deal too. I think that works out pretty good. More people talk about Hackstall's face being dejected. Yeah, I'm sure. Sam, Dunn being out completely kills the offense. Seems that whatever Dunn missed time, the offense is worse than ever. There's definitely something to that. He's able to help hold the line and keep it in the offensive zone. He's great at finding the right players in the offensive zone to put them in positions to succeed. Finds them in shooting positions, able to find guys that are going to have the ability to then make a move, so they're not just jumped on right away, right? Like there's a lot of the nuance to what Vince Dunn does is about putting the players around him in better positions to succeed based on where he delivers the puck, how he gets it to them, where he puts it in relation to their body so that they are in a spot where maybe they can carry that momentum and make a move. All of those things Vince Dunn does do well. I'm very much with you, Sam, that having Vince Dunn would maybe help, but at the same time, we've had games this year with Vince Dunn where the team has also played this kind of lackluster, low energy, just don't have it tonight, allergic to momentum. Like all of those same issues exist. It's just, maybe for that Jets game, maybe for this game, the end result is different just by having him out there just that little bit more. It's very possible. That, and he's been the most consistent defender too. I mean, him and Dumoulin have really been the only two Kraken defensemen that just all year have just been rock solid in the zone, in the defensive zone. I mean, forgetting Dumoulin's like first 7 games. Caps were down a ton yesterday, early enough to coast to the end of that game from an effort perspective. I think teams do that sometimes. I do. Maddie, how do we get on the Discord? We should have links to it, like on Twitter at Emerald City HKY. On Instagram, we should have like a link to a leak tree that should have an evergreen link to join the Discord server there. I think there's actually one in the comment section of this YouTube video as well. So let me know if that works. And if not, I'll find a way to get one to you. Let's see. Saw some glass seats reselling for 180 a piece tonight. People are just trying to get rid of their tickets. Gabrielle, yeah, they are. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, unfortunately. And that's where, again, I think a Zegras guy kind of helps that. Nicole, I just don't see how the consistency issues will improve next season. Most of the team is staying, coach is staying. If it's something that could be fixed, we don't see it. We wouldn't see it anymore. Yeah. Well, that's where one person could make the difference. One change. All it takes is one change. Whether that's naming a captain, perhaps. Whether that's making one trade. You trade, I don't know, Yanni Gord, and it wakes everybody up or something like that. You bring in one guy on the 4th line. I do think that there's an issue on the team leadership side of things, and I've talked about this before, where you have a leadership group, but it's not a super vocal leadership group. And then I think you have a lot of young players that have the potential to be leaders, but just the way hockey works, they're not going to step up and overstep the already set in leadership group. So if you don't have that vocal leadership group already established, or one that's going to encourage the young guys to kind of come in and try to take a hold of it, I do think that's part of this too. I think Vince Dunn has done a better job of stepping up this year, but again, right, he's not here for this game, wasn't here for that Jets game. I think that's what's going on. I just think you have quiet leaders. All the guys with A's, they're mostly quiet leaders, and then you have guys like Maddie waiting in the wings, who's not going to want to step on their toes. And this is a fairly common problem. You do see this transitionally from one leadership group to another. You run into these issues, but I think the Kraken are just there. Bryce, even from a hockey standpoint, I think Zegras would help, not fix, but help. I think this team could really use some youth and offensive upside. I'm with you, Bryce. I do think he helps in a lot of ways. Let's see. No one can convince me Zegras was shaded. Maybe Bjorkstrand wouldn't be a fun line to watch. It would be. Ricky, Zegras would be costly. No chance this team pays it. It depends. I mean, if Zegras is really unhappy in Anaheim, everybody knows that Anaheim's not going to be able to operate with a ton of leverage. And we just saw certain situations play out where teams didn't have a lot of leverage and they did not get a lot of return. I know, the obvious examples are at the trade deadline, things like the Jake Gensel trade, where they don't really get too much. Kraken with Wenberg even potentially, where in years past you would see these kinds of things go for more, but everybody knew, like, look, they have no option but to trade him, so I'll just stand firm, and they're going to have to take the deal. It's very possible that teams do that with Anaheim and Zegras, because it kind of keeps the price down. And like I said, if the mandate from ownership is to do something, that is certainly something. And that might be what forces Ron's hand to do something, because I think Ron does need to do something. I know there's a question here from Ryan: how long does Francis get before he's on the hot seat next season? If next season goes the way this year goes, I think you see a Dave Haxtell firing mid-season whenever they're on a losing streak, or if they start the season poorly. And then at the end of next season, if they don't make the playoffs again and the team kind of flounders and is in the exact same spot they were in this year, Ron Francis is gone. That's it. I think he's close to there. The coach always goes first. And then the general manager. So Ron Francis is on the hot seat the moment Dave Haxtell leaves, right? The hot seat transitions from the coach to the general manager at that point. And so that's what I would say. That is what to look out for. Elizabeth just came back from the arena. What a loss. Having a good time, but damn, these losses are not good. I feel so bad for you, Elizabeth. You've been saddled with these two. I mean, at least the last game was exciting, but yes, 2 losses, not the greatest way to enjoy a trip to Seattle. I am sorry. RJ, bringing you in this one, man. I mean, bummer, right? Like, that's the first word that comes to mind when I think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's certainly the feeling here, right? Just bummer. And again, I heard your earlier comment. Sorry, Elizabeth, for these 2 games that you've gotten. Like you said, Dylan, at least the last one was interesting. This one, not quite as much, but that kind of seemed to be the vibe in the locker room, and also just kind of searching for answers a little bit. Either searching for answers or they already knew what the answers were. The amount of times I heard from whether it was Yanni Gord or Oliver Bjorkstrand that we got just the term, I don't know. That's kind of how Yanni started things. Just like what went wrong. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And I think, we kind of saw what happened. And on those 2 goals against, right? Those are unforced errors. They're unfortunate plays. And Haxtell said that's basically what they are. He didn't really go too deep into them because they're just mistakes. That's what they are. And we're going to learn from it, he said.
Yeah, I don't think there is a reason to go into them. I haven't gone into them because, I mean,
there's nothing to break down, really.
No, they're mistakes. There's nothing to break down. And the bottom line is there was a million other chances for the Kraken to seize this game and put themselves in a spot where those weren't going to either happen or matter, and they didn't. Just like the Jets game, just like the Sharks game. And yes, I think a lot of us in chat or here, RJ, have been asking the same. I don't know. I would hope the team has a better idea than we all do from the outside. It's not encouraging when they say, I don't know. But the bottom line is, RJ, I mean, this was just another game where this team did not have energy. They could find momentum, but then they immediately chuck it right back at the other team. They do not want to hold on to momentum at all. And they wasted a winnable game again.
Right. Well said. I mean, they just didn't meet the moment tonight. They didn't have that energy, which, again, is surprising given their opponent is on the second half of back-to-backs. They just got crushed by Edmonton last night. This is not a particularly great team. I feel like it doesn't take a whole lot to really be in the game and take charge of it, and they just didn't do it.
Nope. So we've been talking Zegras trade, what kind of package it could be for Zegras.
I saw that in chat. Yeah, Daniel Sprong potentially as a cheaper alternative. I looked down as we were finished with Haxtell. I'm like, oh, we're at that point in chat now where it's just that kind of stuff.
You just need energy. Forget about the fact that they're both going to score 20 to 25 goals for this team, which this team could absolutely use because they essentially only have 2 guys who can do that consistently. It's just the fact that they're going to bring life. They're going to bring energy. In a game like this, you're not going to, come out strong for the first 10 minutes and then do nothing for the next 35. Right? If you have Trevor Zegras out there who's going to try to do something fun, if you have a Daniel Sprong who's just going to YOLO it and forget about playing defense, but force an offensive possession, right? Like that is the stuff that this team is missing. And for whatever reason, nobody's stepping up and doing it. I just kind of finished talking about the leadership group, RJ. I feel like it's a very quiet leadership group that the team already has. And then they have some young guys with the capability of being leaders, but I feel like they're probably too afraid to step on the existing leadership group's toes. And you just kind of get stuck in this no man's land where it doesn't feel like anybody's really seizing control of this team and saying that games like this are unacceptable, because we're getting multiples of them in a week now.
Right. And I think that's what happens when you have a little bit of the generational gap there, where you have a player like, say, Matty Beniers. I think we both still believe future captain of this team, right? But he's not quite ready for that role yet. And you've got those older players like a Jordan Eberle, just celebrated his 1,000th game tonight. He's a respected veteran in the room. And like Yanni Gord, another guy who was getting into it right from the opening puck drop, right? We saw the energy from him early on going at it with Tom Wilson. But when that stuff eventually fades in a game, I just think you need a catalyst like that, but somebody who can also maybe generate a bit offensively. We've seen some of that from Jared McCann this season at various points, but I think you need more than one.
Yeah. And I know, like, Pebbles had a great intermission interview between the second and the third. He talked about them needing to come out and get 30 shots on goal to get back in that game and everything. And to their credit, they did come out strong to start the third, right? Like that was, arguably as good as they played throughout the entire game to start the third period. So it was obvious that they had a discussion. Things looked different to start the third, and really through a lot of the third, they did a lot of good, but it just,
and we saw that last game too.
Yeah.
They went into the third trailing by a goal. They came out and scored a whole bunch of goals to start the period, got themselves back into the game. They've got that part down. It's just the unforced errors again, where they throw games like this away.
And then Schultz here with the super chat. Remember when the Kraken were good in second periods? Memories. At this point, I'd accept average. How many games have we lost because of a poor second? A lot. A lot.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of bounced around this season as far as which period they struggle in. They'll have stretches for a little bit, but the second has definitely been a weaker one recently.
Yeah, we sure gave up on the whole, and Hackstall has too, the whole concept of a full 60. We don't throw around that phrase anymore at all. That has been gone. The other big thing that everybody was wondering in chat, RJ, was why did Dave Hackstall wait so long to pull Joey Daccord?
I was wondering this myself. You'd think, given they're such an analytics-driven organization, the Kraken would pull the goalie sooner than they do. And you look at the analytics too, as far as the numbers, right? It tells you should pull the goalie with a ton of time left, earlier than anybody does it in real life. And yet, Hackstall had opportunities at about the 2.5-minute mark. You had a couple long shifts in the offensive zone, cycle shifts, and I looked at the bench. He's not even looking at Joey. It just wasn't even a consideration. And then finally, I think it was like 1.5 minutes, they finally got him out of the net. That's just not enough time. The Kraken were able to generate some chances there late, get the puck in the offensive zone, but you have to give yourself more time than that. I mean, the numbers bear that out. Like at this point, common sense bears that out. If you're talking about the 1.5 minute mark, I don't know why they don't do it. I know Hackstall got a lot of flack early in his tenure with the Kraken for pulling the goalie soon, given that it went back the other way so quickly a lot of the time. But still, you have to stand by the numbers and give your team more of a chance than that.
Forsland was really surprised because he started looking at like the 2:45, 2:30 mark left, right? Like an appropriate time. And he said, oh, the stop sign's up for Joey. Like it almost made it sound like Joey was like starting to go at that point, even because the Kraken were in the offensive zone. They were cycling. They had possession, strong possession, and it just was not there. I was
watching him. Weird. He was looking at the bench. There was no signal at all from Hackstall because I wanted to get the video of him skating to the bench because he goes really fast. I thought it might just be a cool video to have, but didn't end up getting it.
Yeah, no, it is one. Talking about the power play here, Lindsay, I'm okay with keeping Hack, but I could see the power play coach leaving. B, it's been the same power play coach all 3 seasons, right? Which is just baffling to me, lol. Talking about Tolvanen on the power play and just kind of the endless slap shots. We're back to that from last year. I know it worked last year until it didn't, and it's still not working here. Any ideas for the power play, RJ?
I mean, I like some of the recent player movement and the different looks they've gone with. I mean, they did score a power play. That was on the power play, wasn't it? Yeah, they scored in the power play tonight. So, I mean, I like the way it's looked recently, as much as the results haven't always been there. And I think McFarland has been willing to change some things up this season, but I think you just need more talent on it. Tolvanen's great as that slap shot one timer. It's good to have that threat, but for whatever reason this season he's just not able to connect on it. The look is there, but he just can't put it in the right spot. So I think that's something you just kind of need to address in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all the recent power play goals, it just feels like they're getting to loose pucks, right? Like it's more
Mm-hmm.
luck based than it is them developing the play, right? Like it's just like, oh, the
Yeah,
puck
but I mean,
happens to
there's
bounce
still
out to it. Yeah,
situations where you generate your own loose pucks and luck, like
yeah,
the chaos that was happening from this goal, right? If you can get the goalie down and get a shot from the mid slot, that's generally going to work out well for you.
yeah. Livia, I just want Schultz off the power play. I feel like it's ridiculous at this point.
It'll be Evans next year.
It'll be Evans next year, and obviously having Vince Dunn for games like this would be helpful. We talked about that already. We talked a lot about Hackstall's kind of risk averse philosophy, as Lindsay's putting it here. Talked about that with Ron Francis too, right? Like it's just the organization is risk averse. Like that's just the way they are, RJ.
Yep, that's their MO. It's just that's how they are until it's different people in charge all the way from the top. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah, and Lindsay saying wants to see more shots, basically more volume shooting over just the endless passing that they have. Let's see, Ricky. This team was good when rolling 4 lines, but all 4 had to contribute. It completely broke down this year. Yeah, because you don't have one line you can lean on, right? I mean, Wenberg was their time on ice leader at forward, right? Like you can get away having a 4th line that's made up of a Yamamoto, a Tanev, and Belmar, right? If you have a first line who's going to go out there and get it, if you have a second line who can go out there and get it, right? You can get away with that kind of stuff. But this whole having to play everybody roughly the same amount of time, shuffling the lines as often as they do, including in this game. I mean, you look at Money Puck and it's just a mess of how many different lines they had 5-on-5. It's just, I don't know. I can't imagine that the inconsistency of it all is helping it all either.
No, it can't be, right? I mean, you have lines that build up chemistry and get better over time. And I mean, injuries are a little bit of a part of that now, where you've got Jaden Schwartz out again. But it feels like they can't even really survive one guy being out at this point. It just kind of messes with things more than they can handle. I don't know. That second line again just kind of is thrown together. I liked Ty Karche on it last game. I didn't notice a whole lot from them tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think they've had what 10 different players play in the top 6 this year.
Quick count in my head, that sounds about right.
I mean, like it's everybody but Belmar, Gord, and Tolvanen. I think every other forward that this team has played in the top 6 at some point.
Yeah, Tanev has, Yamamoto has.
Yeah,
I think of the others that Bjorkstrand has, Karche has. Yeah,
everybody else has. That's a lot of guys to cycle through there and just not have anybody to stick with. And it's not even like, oh, it's one spot and you're just trying to find that one last guy. We're talking about one permanent winger spot on the first line being inconsistent all year long and being shuffled around several times. You're talking about the center spot now on the second line, as well as both winger spots on the second line. I mean, the second line has just been a Frankenstein line all year long. Like, how are you ever supposed to have consistency? How are you ever supposed to play a traditional line up setup, right? Time on ice wise, when you have a second line that has probably seen 5 or if not 6 different variations over the course of one season, and with only like one trade made. It's not even like, oh, like this team like blew up like season 1 where you traded away half of the group or something. This was just, you just can't settle on anybody and you just can't find anybody to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one excuse I would say is injuries, at least in the middle of the season when they really racked up, it was kind of impossible. But they've been healthy for a little while now and still haven't found anything that's not like a Frankenstein line for that second line.
Yeah, we haven't seen a consistent second line setup for what, more than 4 games, probably the second half of the season since the calendar flipped.
Yeah, I mean, we put our lineups out every game. I could go back and look and just see how many it has been.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot, unfortunately. Let's see. Yeah, we were talking about like hot seat stuff, right? Hackstall's gonna be on the hot seat if the season starts off this way next season. I don't even think he survives that, to be perfectly honest, RJ.
I mean, yeah, if it goes south and like it did this season, where you have a long losing streak before the new year, yeah, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some, a lot of talk around the Zegras stuff, what it would be, and how much he would help and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, where are you on the Zegras idea?
I don't think he fixes. I don't think he fixes things in a larger sense. I mean, I'm sure like any team should be happy to have a player like that. You will help any team situation if you just bring him in for free. But I don't think he fixes the core issue of this team, which is well, there's a few different things, but really the lack of a star talent, given you have the cap space for it, and then just defensive focus. I don't know how to fix that, but the lack of a star talent, I know how to fix that, and Zegras isn't it.
You shouldn't need to fix the defensive focus. Like, you have all the pieces to do it, right? Like, I don't think that whatever star player you need to go after needs to factor into that at all. Like, that shouldn't be a part of
No,
it.
he does. No, it's two separate things.
Yeah. I just think Zegras would at least bring energy. Like, games like tonight don't happen if Zegras is out there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he
You
does
still
provide
might
a
not
spark there.
win, right? Like, you might lose games like the game you lost to Vegas because of him, but at the same time, like, that's infinitely more enjoyable. You remember that game. We're not gonna remember this game 3 days from now.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. It at least makes it more fun. I mean, that's been one of the unfortunate things too, especially after that Vegas game where a lot of people felt like, okay, season's kind of over, and then you get tonight where you lose and it's not even fun.
Mhm. Steven, I've been a coach hack defender, but this team seems listless now. Don't fire him now, but give him more tools and give him a chance. Dylan's timeline is bang on. Yeah, because I still, I'll defend Hackstall for what it's worth, right? I'm still at this point, RJ, and I know you are too, right? I feel like it's still more the roster than it is the coaching.
Yeah,
There's just nobody there.
right. There's just not enough talent. This is not a team that's talented enough to make the playoffs on a consistent basis. And then also just the execution that I know it's easy to kind of put that on coaching, and to an extent you can, but at a certain point when it's basic things like we've talked about for a long time, the players have to execute at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then several comments about the re-signing of Eberle, right? Like having to go out there and do that. Viren just had to re-sign Eberle for the leadership. Steven, they re-signed Eberle because they didn't want to waste that painting.
I know. I'm sure that painting, you couldn't have gotten that done that fast. I'm sure that was already in the works.
Yeah, but I mean, that was like the one highlight of the night, right? Like that was cool. That it was a great way to start it. It was a fantastic ceremony. You could tell he didn't want to be there, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Kraken do that stuff really well. They did a great job with Everly. I like the warm up mix. It was all Nickelback because that's his band of choice. They even got Nickelback to do a little cameo for him and congratulate him on his 1,000th game. So they really leaned into that angle and just celebrated a lot of the great things about Jordan Eberle. And they had his wife narrated a really nice kind of touching video to start things off. They had a whole bunch of former teammates and current teammates talking about it. It was a really nice ceremony.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it speaks volumes about the kind of person Jordan Eberle is and how close him and his family are and all of that stuff. That part of all the people, wishing him well and talking about his journey and all of that stuff was his in-laws. It is not often that you see the in-laws joining with the parents, right? Independently of each other in a video like that. But knowing what we know about Jordan Eberle and his family and his wife and all of that stuff, it makes a lot of sense why they were there. But him and his wife been together forever. So those in-laws have been on this journey with him and seen him grow and do all of this. But I just thought that was kind of like a fun thing because that is something that tells you a lot about the kind of person he is and the kind of family that he has and the culture around him, because you don't see that stuff very often.
Yeah, a guy even in-laws could love.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta love that kind of stuff. So I liked that. Then just the fact that it was like, here's a celebration, here's a painting, and then just everybody else with an A on their jersey is going to hand you a bottle of booze.
Yep. I mean, I think that was part of the gift for Gio as well. It seems like that's what they go with: booze and a watch.
Yeah, Yeah, no, it was a fun time. Let's see. Schultz, if Pebbles was to retire at the end of the season, would love to get him in the coaching crew. His personality and faceoffs couldn't hurt to have around the team on a permanent basis.
Yeah, I mean, certainly he's a great guy to have around any NHL team. If he wants to go that route, he will find a job with somebody. Usually, you'll have former players. Maybe they'll join an AHL staff and kind of work their way up. But you could also be there as just a skills coach at the NHL level. That's another way that players will sometimes go after retirement. But certainly wouldn't mind having him around.
Yes, definitely. JTB hockey, Patrick Waugh to the Kraken. At least he would take some chances and pull the goalie at the start of the game.
That would be the one upside.
Yes, he would. Elizabeth, I saw Vincent practice today, and the guy looks fine. When is he coming back? Damn it!
Don't know. He was out there skating before. He participated in practice. He's just ramping up. I don't know. He hasn't taken line rushes. We'll know more. I don't know if they're practicing tomorrow or if they'll just have the morning skate in a couple days. But you got to think he's close, given that he's practicing with the team in the way he is.
Yeah. Now, look, I have no issue holding guys out for as long as possible after head injuries, right? Again, assuming that's what it is. Safe assumption. And so I have no problem doing that. And I also think that it's a sign from the team that not only are they being responsible with that, but it's, understanding the situation standings wise. Gonna rush him back and put him at risk for this year doesn't really make sense to do so.
Yeah, you got to focus on his long-term health more than anything, especially given the reality in the standings right now.
Yeah. Byron, I distinctly remember you two advocating shuffling the lines after every single loss earlier this season. But that was before they were shuffling them.
Yeah, see, it wasn't working when they were together. I don't know.
And to be honest, a large part of me this year has been advocating for shuffling of the Yanni Gourde line, which we did finally get.
Yeah, we did get that, and until recently, when I guess they feel like they can't afford it anymore.
Yeah, no, it is tough. The second line was the leftovers line last year with way fewer injuries. Hope they get more intentional with Shane's line mate next year from Viren. I do think having Shane in there, and because he's going to be a young guy, will solidify that line in a bigger way.
Yeah, it should. And you got to plan the line mates around him too. It's not just important for the now, but important for the long-term future that you find guys that can play with Shane Wright, because he's going to be a fixture in the lineup for a long time to come. You got to figure out who he plays best with.
And you know what? You got to play Matty Beniers' line more. I think that has to be part of it too, is Matty Beniers has to take that next step and be a 21, 22 minute a night player. And that's just the bottom line. Like he's got to take that on him. He's got to do it. I think he can handle it from, the conditioning standpoint. It still remains to be seen production wise what that would lead to for him. Obviously, I think he'll be better than he was this year. But I think kind of, we're starting to see that a little bit here from him after the Wenberg trade, but I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Kraken deploy their forwards in a way that's quite different from any other NHL team. Any other team, you see their top guys playing 21, 22 minutes a night. The Kraken, nobody's playing, averaging over 18 and a half. It's just different. And I know they're kind of built differently forwards wise, but that's kind of not sustainable if you're going to be a really good team. You do have to have stars emerge, and you do get a benefit from playing your best players more of the game. That's kind of a cheat code you can go to as an NHL coach. There's a reason McKinnon, Ronson, and those guys, McDavid, will play 24, 25 minutes a night when the game is close. It's because they can, and they're better players than the other guys out there, and it provides you with an advantage. Eventually, the Kraken are going to need to be able to do that too.
Definitely. So, couple interesting questions here. First one from Maddie: who decides to fire a coach?
That is usually the GM.
Yep. And then from Mason: any chance Hack is here next year? Now, I've been talking all this post game as though he will be. RJ, because I think for the most part he will be, and then it's just he's on the hot seat next year if things kind of go off the rails again. I will bring this up though. Through the whole losing streak earlier this season in November, December, when things looked really at their bleakest, and all of us in the media circle for the first time really had to think about whether or not Dave Haxtell was going to be fired. One of the things that we pointed to and said that this is why he wasn't fired was the fact that the players were, saying that it was on them, right? Like they knew what was up. They were going to go and they had to fix it. They had to work through it. It was on them. This wasn't a lost locker room situation. The fact that you had multiple people just saying, I don't know, for the first time this year after that losing streak now gives me pause, because what if they finish out the rest of the season, RJ, winning like 3 more games or something, 4 more games? Maybe he does get let go at the end of the year. It's not good when you have players just being like, yeah, I have no idea.
I guess, yeah, if he does lose the room and it's clear that that's the case and they lose a ton of games in a very easy schedule through the end of the year, then maybe that's on the table. I don't see that happening. I'd say it's very unlikely. But also just from a realism standpoint, right, if you're Ron Francis, it doesn't make any sense to get rid of Hackstall this season. That's the one move you have that can buy you more time as a GM. You better save it. It makes no sense to burn it right now. It's not going to get you any closer to the playoffs. So I think he almost has to just save that for next season if things do start to go wrong. Because if you fire him now, bring in a new coach, and then falter out the gate, then it's you on the chopping block. So yeah. I just don't see that happening at all.
That is what I talked about, is the moment somebody had asked when Ron Francis will be on the hot seat, and I said it's the moment Dave Hackstall's gone. And the hot seat transitions from the coach to the general manager, but it doesn't happen before that.
You get one coaching change.
Yep. Light with the super chat. Maddie's been playing 20 minutes a night the last couple of games, so that's a good sign. It is. Like I said, he's getting there. And doesn't he look better? Like I feel like he's able to get into more of a rhythm. He's able to stay more present during games, especially like a game like tonight. He's one of the few players who kind of stood out to me as far as somebody who had a pretty consistent effort through the ups and downs of this game.
Yeah, it was one of the better efforts tonight. I really noticed him last game against Vegas. I think he stepped up in a major way for that game and really showed that he belonged on that big stage for such an important game. I know it went poorly at the end, but he was one of those guys from the opening puck drop who I noticed right away. Kind of the only guy on that line, it felt like, because we didn't really notice Tatar, we talked about. We didn't notice Eberle a ton. But Matty showed up, and I think that's a good sign. And as we look for things that the Kraken can kind of build off of through the end of the season, if they're not making the playoffs, that's got to be number one, is giving him some momentum to go forward into next year.
Yeah. Now, what he does need, though, is he needs a little bit of the Shane Wright treatment, because while he's playing well, far too often do we see stuff like he skates into the corner and he'll just chop the puck along, right, and keep it going with the cycle. There are very few times where I feel like he is making a decision to take a hold of the game. He's skilled enough to do it. We know that his puck skills are there. His distribution skills are there. I feel like he's playing a little too high up in the offensive zone right now, and I feel like he just needs to, at some point, as with all the aspects of this team, whether it's coaching, general manager, everything, just take a chance. Just go for it. Every once in a while, it is okay to take a risk and try to make a big play. And I feel like Matty Beniers is kind of right in there with the rest of the organization when it comes to that idea and kind of what he needs to do. Because that was my one issue with him in this game, was when did you really see him drop down low? Like, never.
Yeah, almost never.
Yeah. So
I mean, hopefully that's one of those things you can kind of unlock once you accept that you're not making the playoffs. Because I think until then, there's a temptation to be mistake averse, risk averse, and just play as defensively as you can, especially for a guy like Matty, where once you make that call, okay, we're focused on next year, you can tell him just go for it. If you make a mistake, if you're not high enough and someone beats you back, don't worry about it. The score is not important.
Right. Well, and you got to trust the rest of your team too, right? Like, you got defensemen, let them do their job. He doesn't need to just be the defensive god. It's okay, Matty. Byron, I mentioned this last post game, but it was late. Does Tolvanen's chemistry or lack thereof with other line mates affect any extension he's offered?
I mean, they look at everything, right? And there's going to be a lot of factors to look at with this Tolvanen extension. I don't know what that number is going to look like, whether money or term, right?
Yeah. He's not arbitration eligible, is he?
I believe he is.
Yeah, he is. Okay, well, that's going to be interesting too.
Yeah, then there's that factor as well where he could go to arbitration. There's a lot of things to consider with that. And yeah, I think you do have to look at next season. Where do you picture him within the lineup? I talked about this a lot on the Armchair GM stream for the patrons. We were looking at potential players that you could move if you wanted to change this forward group, because it has to change somehow. And Tolvanen was a name that kept coming up because he's someone who you do have the flexibility to move. And so you have to decide, do you see him in a more or less concrete place in your lineup? Where is that? What are you willing to pay for it? And if not, are you ready to move him? Because if there's not a long-term place there for him, he's one of the few guys you can move.
Yeah. No, it is the thing. And look, this was part of the issue with Nashville, was that they just couldn't find a spot for him, right? Like where he was consistent, and they felt like he was consistent within their system, and that's why they put him on waivers. Obviously he's been more consistent with the Kraken. He's found a new level. He's a good player. I'm not saying the Kraken should waive him, but this is I guess a historic, thing with him that has been there. We'll just do like a lightning round here at the end, RJ, as we got Jake saying, I love to see Tolvanen play with Wright. Why is Tolvanen not in the top 6 from Jenna? I mean, it's mostly just because he found the chemistry with the Yanni Gord line, and they've just been afraid to break it up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and they're playing as much as the other line, so he's.
By the way, we got a guest here.
Hey, Jeff.
We got Jeff Baker from the Seattle Times. Hey, Jeff.
You're going to have to leave. Security's closing down the building.
Oh, no. Okay. Security's escorting me out here, Jeff. Sorry.
Oh, this is a nice setup you have here.
Yeah, it's a good setup here. We got
Dylan over there. Yeah, I didn't recognize him on TV.
Does he look different?
He looks a lot taller on TV.
Looks a lot taller on TV than in person. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
If anyone's got any questions for Jeff, you want to throw in the chat here?
Can they hear me or no?
Questions? Yeah.
Huh? Can they hear me? Or
they can hear you. Yeah.
Hear me? Oh no.
Sorry, I can't. I've got the earbuds in, so I'll let you know what they say.
Yeah.
How'd you guys like the game tonight?
He's asking. Well, didn't really. I wouldn't say we liked the game tonight.
No. It was
what I call a coffee game for the first 2 minutes. You need a lot of coffee.
Yeah. What did you think of the game tonight, Jeff?
I thought they had a very good opportunity to, stay on the fringes of this playoff race, and they just didn't take advantage of it. They didn't show up for the first 2 periods. I was a little surprised. Thought the energy level was terrible.
Yeah.
And that's honestly that's the second game out of 3 in this homestand that's happened. And, you just at that point you just gotta just say it like it is.
Yeah.
I think they left a lot of what they had on the ice the last game when they lost to Vegas.
Right.
I don't think I think they looked beaten when they came out tonight.
Yeah, no, in chat a lot of people have been focused on next season and looking forward. I think a lot of people kind of called it on this year. Yeah. Quickly, like what do you think generally is the answer for next year? I mean, what do they need to change?
I think they need to bring in an impact player. And it's not easy. It's not like you can wave your magic wand and go abracadabra and get an impact player. A lot of it's going to depend on who's out there. But if you're a front office, you also make those projections well ahead of time. You look at that years ahead of time. Who's going to be out there potentially available? What can we do? How are we planning our team? And so I would imagine the front office has some players in mind to target. And I mean I would hope that they do, because I think this team. Look, we got to assume Matty Beniers can come back next year and do better than he's done this year. We got to assume Andrei Burakovsky, if he stays healthy, can produce more akin to what he's capable of. But I think you have to protect your team beyond that. I think you have to upgrade your roster beyond that. Almost like it doesn't guarantee anything, but it brings a little more certainty. Yeah, I think you have to go into overkill mode a little bit. Bring somebody in that can score some goals, hopefully at the center position. And again, I'm a lot of teams would like to do that, but if you're the Kraken, you have salary cap space, you have draft picks. Not an abundance of first rounders, but you do have some draft picks that you could package. And you have some players that are desirable out there. I don't know how much pain they're willing to swallow and how many they're willing to give up, but if you can get a deal done, you try to get a deal done. That's why you pay a front office and you don't look to guys like you and me to try to solve all our problems on the internet. Because, I mean, if that was the case, they'd be spending, 7 figures on all of us to sit here and solve the problems. But there's only 32 general managers in hockey, and they're supposed to be able to do that. So, look, I'm not saying it's a complete failure for the Kraken. It's not. It's a 3rd season of existence. They made the playoffs once. But, it's year 3 of the organization. They're going into a 4th year, and now it's time to sort of kick this thing into gear. You can't it can't, as I wrote in the Seattle Times, it can't only be about the future. It's got to be about the present at some point too. And they're eliminated now with 4.5 weeks to go in the season. That's probably not where they want to be in their third year.
No, I'm sure it's not.
What's his opinion on
But it's
Zegras
easy for me to say.
Yeah, okay, because this has been in chat a lot today. People are looking at maybe a potential trade for Zegras.
Yeah.
Do you think that helps enough? Does that move the needle? What do you think about a Zegras?
Yeah,
move?
I mean, I think Zegras, a change of scenery could really help Zegras. It's hard for a young player to develop amongst a losing team that can't, win more than one game a month or one game every 2 weeks. That kind of culture is tough to get away from. I think Zegras is a guy who's honestly, my impression of him so far in his career, a lot of showmanship, a lot of entertainment, some flashy play, not a lot of the consistency that I think they're looking for out of him. And I think he's a guy where a change of scenery can really benefit him, especially if he comes to a team that, going into a season, at least has somewhat of a chance of making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's looking at Anaheim right now saying, oh, that's a team that could make the playoffs sometime too. With the Kraken, a few things go right, things turn around, they start winning, they stop blowing leads in the third period, they start winning a few more overtime games. That's a team that can hang around for most of the season. And if you upgrade it, that's a team that should be in the running, you would think, for a wild card spot. So maybe that sparks Zegras and he becomes the player that everybody envisions him being. He's still a very good player and he's very young as well.
Put butts in seats, right?
What's that?
Put butts in seats.
It's not only about that, but that's part of it. Yeah, you got to give people in Seattle a reason to come to watch this team, and I think that's the kind of guy that could really do that. Now, I mean, there's a handful of guys. I mean, Austin Matthews would put a lot of butts in seats here. They're not going to get Austin Matthews. So if Zegras,
Dylan's disappointment,
if Zegras is available, then I think I can't see him hurting the Kraken. Put it that way.
All right. Anything else we got? I know we're over the hour mark. We're kind of wrapping things up, but anything in chat there for Jeff?
No, I mean, people really on board with what Jeff's been talking about, though, and just kind of how he is.
No, he said they're really on board with what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a first. Usually the internet doesn't agree with anything I have to say. But
just got to be on video more, Jeff. People love you on video.
I used to be on video a lot 15 years ago and stuff. I was probably a little prettier back then. Now I'm just, I'm getting to be middle-aged. So, people, they don't quite flock to me in public the way they do Dylan. I've stood next to Dylan in at Mullet Arena in Arizona when he was getting approached for autographs and selfies. They don't do autographs anymore, selfies. And, nobody even knew I existed. They were asking me to hold their popcorn and their beer for them. So
it was a fun time. And hey, Dylan will be in Arizona again pretty soon. So you'll get the chance to see him again.
Yeah, and do our segue.
The excitement level for that game that there was a year ago, I don't think. But enjoy it. It might be the last time in Arizona, so you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
No,
last time working there, you can always go to Arizona on your own dime.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. No, I'm looking forward to it, and then also I think that makes for a good segue too to talk about our sponsor.
Just let me know when you want to get rid of me. I don't want to overextend my.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, just do the outro. So, talk about Flat Stick Pub, and I'm going to be up there in Seattle. Now. Yeah, going to be up there in Seattle, April 5th for that live watch party at Flat Stick Pub, the South Lake Union location. So, really looking forward to that. You can come and take selfies with me because apparently that's what everybody does. So, looking forward to that one. Looking forward to the next game against Nashville on Saturday. We'll see if the Kraken can turn it around. Thanks to Jeff for joining us.
Thank you,
Seattle
Jeff.
Times.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
I gotta go flag down a bus.
All right. Yeah, got to catch that bus.
All right.
See you, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us for this one, and we will see you all next time.